you a psychic, sensitive, or seeker who wants to learn more? Welcome to the Mystic School with Sarah Wiseman, where we dive deep into all things mystic and metaphysical. Here's Sarah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mystic School, where we talk about all things metaphysical. So glad that you're here. This is the place for all you intuitives and empaths and sensitives and seekers out there, where we talk about sort of how it works whenever we go into the field and look around and see what's going on in the other realms. I want to say it sounds so woo-woo, doesn't it? But it's really very grounded. And I would say that this work we do in spiritual intuition is actually, how I would describe it is as an offshoot of very ancient meditation technique. So in ancient meditation systems, you go into a place and you allow the thoughts to relax and you just commune with the energy of what is. You become fully present to the energy of everything right there in this place that you're in. And that, of course, is this phenomenal technique to help get your emotions sorted and to actually physically take the body into a calm, more relaxed state, which is incredibly useful and has a lot of health benefits, as we know. So this work in spiritual intuition is similar, but it's more in the tradition of what some of you might know as shamanic journeying, or spiritualism style work, where we go into a meditative state, but we don't go in as deeply. We go to a lighter level of trance, and then we attempt to, or we successfully gain information comes in that relates to whatever questions we're looking at. And sometimes we connect with beings such as the departed or guides, angels. And sometimes we just receive clairvoyant visioning, or we receive clairaudient, telepathic knowing in words. So the universe continually is trying to work with us in ways we can access. And we're doing this style of meditative journeying. We're working in a language that is based in metaphor, archetype, visual symbols that are sort of widely accepted by humans everywhere at this time and place. We sometimes talk about this as being what's in collective soul. So very interesting process, and not particularly woo-woo, because it's super grounded in who we are. Like, you don't need to become different to do this work. Basically, everyone can do it. It's just a tiny little shift in how you're currently thinking. And the information that it brings, like we sometimes say that, the body keeps the score, or the body can't lie, or the body always tells the truth. And in this same way, when we go into this field of intuitive information, we're always accessing what is. We're not accessing some crazy fantasy that's all made up. We're accessing what is there already and looking at it clearly. And this is how, people that do psychic predictions, they just look at what is. They're not imagining it or pulling it out of thin air. They're just going to the place it's happening already and looking at what's going on there. So again, it sounds very complicated, and it's so simple. And I would guess if you're listening to this, you can probably do it very easily. So our subject for today is, can family karma be healed? Which is a great subject for as we round into the holidays. And we are also having free readings Tuesday, which means you can call in for your free reading, 888-298-5569, 888-298-5569, and very happy to talk with you about whatever's on your mind. Word to the wise, Don't wait to call in. This is just a shorter show. And so if you wait till the end, we're going to be out of time. So call in as soon as you're able, 888-298-5569. Also want to mention some housekeeping notes. For those of you who haven't done the free mini course on the website, sarahwiseman.com, that is there waiting for you. And also we are actively signing up for Winter 2023 Direct Study with me. It's an 8-week program that's also on the website. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of family karma. It's interesting that this was timed today. There's a wonderful summit going on right now. Dr. Stephen Farmer is participating and some others. You can go to the website and look at that. There's, I think, 6 or more interviews with sort of family karma specialists that you can find there that's about to start. But this idea of family karma is what I would call the ancestral trauma or the ancestral wounds that come through a lineage. So if you're a person that's got like your mom's side and your dad's side, or maybe you've got, a different family structure, you've got a step-parent side, or you're adopted. But anyway, you look at these lineages that you come from, and you start with the biological, but the biological isn't the whole story. It's really who was in the family tribe at a certain point of time, and what were the family karma, what was the family karma that they were going through? What were the soul lessons that they, as a group, as a lineage, were working through all at the same time? And in general, we talk about family karma, and we're mostly talking about, unfortunately, family karma is family trauma. So when we look at these 7 common shadows that we find across the lineages, this is not a friendly list or an easy list, but here's the stuff that's in the lineages from whenever humans started to come around. We've got abuse, and that can be sexual, physical, or emotional, or, all of those, if you're super lucky to have that in your lineage. We've got addiction, and more olden times, it was more like alcohol, but nowadays it's addiction, alcohol, drugs, pornography, online shopping, social media, gambling, sex, like you name it, food, whatever you can get it addicted to, there's that addiction. We've got violence. If you're raised in violent situations or have violence in your life, like if you're living in a war zone or living in a place where there's a lot of violence. Poverty. We have poverty. Most of us in the lineage came from extremely poor places and situations, which is why we all immigrated or migrated to different places to escape that shadow of poverty. So so far we've got abuse, addiction, violence, and poverty. Number 5, we have illness. And this is about, sometimes you've got a heritage or a lineage that has a particular disease or preponderance towards a particular illness going down through that's genetically goes down through the lineage. It's part of a karmic lesson. 6, we have abandonment. And this is more about if a person in the family leaves. Sometimes, like a lot of us, our ancestors migrated or immigrated, and some of them went ahead of time, and some of them stayed behind, and it led to this sense of being abandoned. Or in more modern times, we have people, the families are split by divorce. One person leaves and really doesn't come back to the family unit. So we've got that idea of abandonment. There's a split and the group is separated from each other. And then finally we've got betrayal, which is more along the lines of when you see people having a feud or families having a feud or families having a break that really can't be fixed in this lifetime. I think if we were to look at the British royal family right now, we would probably say that there's betrayal going on is one of the seven karmic situations that's happening. And who's betraying who? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But that's a sense of the group is split by a betrayal. So you look at all these seven shadows and you start to look at how they fall into your own lineage. And if you're like most of us, it's not just like you have, one of them. You look at your mom's side, your dad's side, or whoever side you relate to. It's not just that you have one of them, it's that probably you're going to have most of them in a lineage, or all of them in a lineage, which can be quite humbling and quite depressing, but there we have it. This is what we're here to do, this karmic work. So you have all this in your family. Maybe you're living it right now in your family of origin or your created family. And how do you fix this? So the way to fix this or begin to access this healing is you begin to go in and work energetically with the lineage. And usually you can go in and work energetically with the departed, those who aren't around anymore to tell their story or to give their reasons why things were. And if there are people living, then you can begin to work energetically. By energetically, I mean this process of working soul to soul with people who are still living. And the magic of this is that there is no contact, which can sometimes be uncomfortable or triggering or dangerous. And there's also no conflict. You're working from soul perspective, and you're working with your soul to the other person's soul. And so this idea of the human personality coming into play, it doesn't get in the way of attempting to create healing. You also do this work in tandem with your guides or these other support beings, support mentors that you have. It's quite an interesting process. So there's two ways. If you're interested in doing this for your own family, I offer a low-cost course, Heal Your Family Karma, which is on the website under courses, sarahwiseman.com. And there's also the companion to this, which is, I think, called Heal Your Soul Circle. And this goes, Heal Your Family Karma talks about these seven shadows and gives you the process for doing this healing through soul to soul communication. And then Heal Your Soul Circle talks more specifically about this really interesting approach of like what roles does everyone play karmically? Like what role does the father have? What role is the mother? What does it mean to be a daughter? What does it mean to be a son? What does it mean to be a grandparent across, again, not just traditional family, but this whole blended, mixed, family that most of us are a part of. And again, those are both on the website under the courses page. I'm going to go to the phones. We've got a free readings Tuesday, 888-298-5569, 888-298-5569. And we'll talk a little bit more about this after we take this caller, Razel from Philadelphia. Razel, welcome to the program.
Hi, Sarah. I
Hi.
am taking your courses on Daily Om and following you and reading your blog. So just know you have a fan out there.
Thank you. Well, nice to chat with you.
I've taken your daily moon meditations and everything. I just thought I would call, and I'm having trouble with the men in my life. And I live with them.
Mm-hmm.
I live with my husband and my son, and like it's all happening at once, and so I'm just aware of the dynamic. I'm not liking what I'm experiencing, and then of course the other interesting thing is that there's other men showing up in my life that I do like, and so I'm just wondering about this. I understand people journey with us for a while to help our souls grow and all this stuff, and so how I'm just checking in with. Maybe your spirit guides can give me some advice here on how to navigate these choppy waters and figure out, really what I want to resonate with, instead of just what's in front of me that I'm in family relationships with and must love, but even if I don't like,
Yeah.
so that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. It's very timely. So is your husband your son's father?
Yes.
Okay. So does it feel like they are this is like they're like sort of like Tweedledee and Tweedledum right now, like they're
Yeah, the
mirroring. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes how when girls mature faster than boys, this is what's happening sort of globally right now with men and women. And it's not that the men won't catch up. Many men are already fully caught up, and there's great hope for everyone awakening and coming to this place. So I'm not anti-men in any way. But in this case, it feels like you've sort of had the veil taken off of your eyes suddenly, and these two men in your life that are sort of like twins or or sort of like working through the same stuff, they're a couple steps behind.
Correct.
So you're expecting them to be where you are, and they're just not. So it takes having that understanding. It's not that they're bad, they're kind of disrespectful, they're not paying attention, but it's because they're a couple steps behind. And that can help sort of, I don't know, like almost give a sense of humor to the situation in some ways. Does that make sense? Like you don't have to take it so seriously, like, why are they so awful? Yeah, they just don't get it right now. They just you're ahead of them in your understanding.
Right. I get that, but it's hard to live with people with lower vibration.
Yep.
So without getting the secondhand smoke myself.
Yes.
So that.
Yeah. So here's the part, is to look at what exactly the soul lesson is. And I think it's about something along the lines of you being disrespected or not heard for a long time, and suddenly you're done with it. Like you're just like, whoa, what was this about? I'm done. And seeing if they can clearly hear you and change. Does that seem like that's where it is? It's like this idea of being disrespected or unheard?
Absolutely. But then, of course, what they're throwing at me is, you're not listening to me. They're throwing it. I'm feeling it, and they're throwing it right back.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking at this on your own, how are you being disrespected? And it's not like making a list of complaints. It's just looking clearly at the situation for yourself. And sometimes in looking really clearly at it, we see that some of it is ours to change. Like if if you're feeling bored and trapped in the house and they're not doing what you want, that's on you to get out and do something more interesting. It's not necessarily on them to shift their behaviors. Like sometimes we have to be the part that is changing rather than expecting others. So there's part of it is like looking clearly at that. You mentioned other men, and I don't think it's sometimes, I don't have a feeling about if people should stay married or get divorced. That's such a unique, to every situation. But in this case, it feels like you're being shown other men as examples of how things could be, but there is a warning of everybody's better out in public.
Right.
Everybody's better when they have their manners on. And so don't get confused. The grass is not greener elsewhere. It's just that your particular grass needs to be weeded, fertilized, and mowed. A lot of bad habits need to get shifted. So sort of turn your face away from these other people that are showing up. They are showing you, oh, people can be different ways. You might like this better. But it doesn't mean go get a crush on someone or go get involved with someone. That's not the lesson right now. There's still work to be done to manage or negotiate with the people you're with.
Good. That I hear you. I'm certainly not bored at home. If anything, I've got a lot of different projects that are pulling me out into the world, and if anything, everybody is feeling abandoned by the fact that I am stepping out into the world in a different way, and that's part of the triggers of the behavior, I think.
How old is your son?
He's 32.
And does he live with you?
No.
Okay.
But he's, but we're still supporting him. He hasn't quite made it on his own, so he's still entangled with us quite a bit. Yeah,
that's a big piece of this is making some strides to get him disentangled. And I'm very aware of the economics of this time period for people in their 20s and 30s. I get that, but the last couple of years, say that again.
And he's an artist. He wants to make it as an artist.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I'm so hardcore. Like, a lot of people want to make it as an artist, and some will and some won't, but it's not your job to support him to his dream. It's his job to go make his dream happen. So consider this discussion of letting go of the umbilical cord and getting him on his path in a more, it will make him more dynamic and give him more feeling of self-worth and give him the freedom he needs to actually make his own mistakes and get going.
Right.
Yeah, he might be an artist, he might do something else, but it's really not your job to keep the cash flow going.
And they both of them reject any suggestions that I might make. Here's your path, I can show it to you. Or why don't you take this next step? They don't. So that's part of the frustration.
Yeah, it's funny. This is coming up a lot. I've actually had several discussions with people in the last couple of days with this same pattern of, I have all this wisdom and my adult kids don't want it. Yeah, because, think of yourself at that age. We didn't want it either, right? Nobody could tell us what to do. They got to make their own way. So this that's the first piece, to get the son on his own. Maybe you have to, stagger the financial drip down a couple months so it's not a huge shock, but get it on his own. And then you and your husband start to figure it out, not with a threesome, but with just the two of you.
Right.
And just there is gold to still be mined in this relationship, but you have to get the distractors, the sun and some of these other factors out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to taking your, your spiritual wisdom intuitive course one day, just when life settles down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to start to have some new offerings in 2023. I'm working on that now. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying to figure it out, but I think I'm getting there. So thanks for your support. Thanks,
Great.
Razel. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Razel brings up a super good point. We have had a really tough struggle with needing to support other people in our lives, and then there comes a time when that support is not the best choice anymore. So those of you listening, if you're in similar situations, I think I probably heard this 6 or 7 times the last few days. So there's something going on for all of us. Getting back to this idea of family karma, if we looked at Razel's situation, I'm not sure that any of these 7 shadows are directly applied, except for maybe the idea of kind of the idea of poverty and how you deal with, like, what does it mean to stand on your own? What does it mean to depend on another? What does it mean to be codependent? How does all that work, and how do, when we want to be helpful to another, how does this take us from our own soul path, and at what place is helpfulness and generosity and all these things we think are so great, at what point do those become not useful for a person and actually undermine their ability to make their own way? So just some things to think about. I'm not seeing in Razel's situation these big 7 shadows from what we've discussed, but I would guess, going back, that some of this idea that not just Razel, but many of us in this generation who have this tendency towards codependence, it's probably related to one of these deeper 7 shadows in our lineage. And if we go back and see, my Irish grandmother, her whole family was dirt poor, and so this creates this feeling of wanting to make sure everybody's not starving in this lifetime. So we can go back and see what our ancestors were dealing with and see how we're relating this lesson to what's coming forward. Anyway, lots to learn, lots to think about. The more you examine, the more things get cleared. The more you examine using the help of these divine mentors, it's just miraculous how the light can come on into a dim or dark room. For those of you interested in learning more, go to the website, sarahwiseman.com. There's the free mini course right there on the front page. We're also signing up for winter 2023 direct study with me. And then what we've been talking about today, go to courses, and the family karma course is right there on that page. It's low cost and it's super, super effective. Everybody, thank you for listening, and I will be back with you soon. Thanks for listening.
Want more